Imagination is everything. If you don't use it, you stay stuck. Most people think success starts with hard work. But the truth is, hard work without direction just keeps you busy. The real starting point is your mind. If you don't take time to imagine a better life, you'll keep repeating the same one. You wake up, do the same things, feel the same way, and call it normal. But nothing changes until you decide to think differently. Your imagination isn't just for daydreaming. It's your mental blueprint. It's how you create a picture of the life you actually want. The problem is, most people never do that. They focus on problems, not possibilities. They react to life instead of designing it. In this video, you'll learn why imagination is everything and how to use it to build a future that feels right, not just looks good. This could be the shift you've been needing. Stay with it. Number 1, imagine a better life and go create it now. Imagination is not just some feel-good idea. It's not something we only talk about when we're daydreaming. It's real. It's the starting point of everything we want, but don't yet have. You can't build a better life until you first imagine what a better life looks like. And that's where most people stop. They say they want more. They say they want to be better. But when you ask them to describe it, they can't tell you. They don't see anything in their mind. That's the first problem. You have to see it first. You have to stop, sit quietly, and ask yourself, what would a better life look like for me? Not what society says, not what others are doing. What do I want to feel when I wake up? What kind of energy do I want in my home? What kind of work would make me proud of myself? What kind of people do I want to be surrounded by? What would it feel like to walk through a day and feel calm, focused, and in control? You have to answer those questions honestly. And it might take some time. It might feel strange. But if you skip this step, you'll stay stuck. Most people do. They wake up, go through the same routine, think the same thoughts, and they wonder why nothing changes. It's because they never imagined anything different. Now, once you've pictured the better life, whatever that looks like, you need to make a decision. You can't just dream about it. You have to go create it. That's the part most people avoid. They love to imagine. They love to talk about what they could do, where they could go, how life could be different. But they never cross the line between imagination and action. And if you don't take action, your imagination becomes a form of pain. It becomes a reminder of what you're not doing. That hurts. You start to feel heavy, frustrated, disconnected. You see others doing things and you feel behind. Not because they're better than you, but because you ignored your imagination and they didn't. If you want a better life, you have to build it piece by piece. You don't need to have everything figured out. You don't need the full plan on day one. You just need to do the next right thing, and then another, and then another. But the starting point has to be a clear vision. If your mind can't see it, your hands won't build it. If your emotions don't connect to it, your energy won't stay strong enough to keep going. You also need to get honest with yourself about where you are right now. Take a full inventory, not to shame yourself, not to make yourself feel worse, but to wake yourself up. Look at your health, look at your finances, look at your habits, look at how you talk to yourself, look at how you spend your time. Ask yourself if any of these are leading you toward the life you imagined. If the answer is no, then the path you're on has to change. That change doesn't require perfection. It just requires movement. If you imagine being strong, then start with a short walk. If you imagine being confident, then speak up in the next conversation. If you imagine having more money, then track your spending today. If you imagine peace, then clean one corner of your home. These small choices add up. They matter. They build something real. The mind is powerful, but it needs direction. It's like a spotlight. You have to point it where you want to go. If you keep focusing on problems, you'll stay in problems. If you focus on what's possible, you'll start to move toward it. This is not magic. It's just how focus works. You start seeing what you train your brain to look for. If you feed your mind ideas that push you forward, you'll find the energy and the confidence to take action. And here's what's important. Your imagination has to come from your own desires, not comparison. Too many people imagine a better life based on someone else's idea. They see what others are doing online and they think that must be success. But that's not real imagination. That's imitation. Real imagination is personal. It's quiet. It's honest. It doesn't always look impressive to others. Sometimes it looks simple, but it feels right. It makes you feel alive. That's the goal. To live a life that feels like it belongs to you, where you wake up and feel like you're becoming the person you're proud of. That only happens when you stop waiting. When you stop saying, one day is not a real day. It doesn't exist on the calendar. You either start or you stay where you are. That's the choice, and don't get caught up in how far you have to go. That can overwhelm you. Just ask yourself, what is one thing I can do today that brings me closer to the life I imagined? Then do that one thing. That's how a better life is built, through daily decisions that match the vision in your mind. You'll get tired sometimes. You'll feel frustrated. That's normal. Growth hurts. Changing direction hurts. Starting over hurts. But regret hurts more. And the pain of not trying, the pain of ignoring your potential, that stays with you. You carry it in your body. You feel it when you lie down at night. You feel it when you see others living fully and you know you're not. So give yourself a chance, not a perfect chance, just a real one. Imagine something better. Don't just settle. You weren't born to repeat days. You weren't meant to live numb. You were given a mind for a reason. Use it. Think about what excites you. Think about what scares you, in a good way. Think about what would make you walk differently, talk differently, live differently. And once that image is strong enough in your head, go do something. Take it from thought to action. It's going to take time. Don't rush it, but don't stall either. Start now, not later, not next month, not when you feel ready. Now. You might not have everything you need. You might not feel confident, but you have a mind, you have breath, you have a body. You can begin. And that beginning is what changes everything. Some people will doubt you. Some people won't understand why you're changing. That's okay. They don't need to understand your imagination. They're not supposed to. It wasn't given to them. It was given to you. And you are responsible for honoring it. You owe it to yourself to follow through on what you see. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do it all at once. But you need to believe that your imagination means something, that your vision has value, that what you feel inside you is not a mistake. It's a message. And you're the only one who can respond to it. If you keep imagining something better and you do nothing, you'll start to numb yourself just to cope with the gap. But if you imagine something better and you take a single step every day, you'll start to feel alive again. You'll rebuild your confidence. You'll earn your own respect. And you'll begin to trust that you can create what you once only saw in your mind. So today, right now, ask yourself, what does a better life look like for me? Get specific. Feel it in your body. See it in your mind. Then take a deep breath and begin. Number 2, use your mind to escape where you are. Most people are waiting for life to change before they decide to change. They sit in the same place, doing the same things, thinking the same thoughts, and expect something new to show up. But the truth is, if you want to leave the place you're stuck in, whether it's mental, emotional, physical, or financial, you have to use your mind first. The body follows the mind. Your hands follow your thinking. Your decisions begin with thought. The only way to escape where you are is to start thinking differently about where you are and where you want to be. You're not stuck because of your circumstances. You're stuck because of how you think about those circumstances. If your mind keeps telling you, this is all there is, if it keeps recycling old beliefs, if it keeps pointing out every weakness, every reason to quit, every piece of doubt, then you're locked in a prison without walls. And no one else can break you out. No one else can shift your thinking. That's your job. The mind is not just a storage unit, it's a tool. And if you don't use it, it will use you. It will fill itself with noise. It will replay every failure. It will focus on everything that's wrong. That's what an undirected mind does. It protects you from discomfort, even if that means keeping you small. So if you want to move, you have to give your mind a new direction. You have to say, this isn't where I'm staying. And then start showing it a different possibility. It doesn't matter if you feel stuck in a bad job, a toxic environment, or a version of yourself you don't even recognize anymore. If you don't change the way you think about what's possible, nothing changes. You can physically leave a place, but if your mindset hasn't shifted, you'll recreate the same situation somewhere else. That's why some people keep repeating the same patterns in different settings. The job changes, the city changes, the people change, but the mindset stays the same, and they find themselves back in the same emotional state. You have to do something different. You have to think on purpose. You have to choose thoughts that move you, not ones that drain you. And that's hard at first, because the mind loves habits. If you've been stuck for years, then your mind has been rehearsing that story. It's memorized the lines. It's built an identity around it. And when you try to change, it feels uncomfortable. You'll hear voices in your head say, "You're not good enough. It's too late. It won't work for you." But that's not truth. That's repetition. That's old programming running in the background. So how do you break it? You start by noticing it. You become aware of what your mind is doing all day. You pay attention to the thoughts you're accepting without questioning. You stop agreeing with every fearful idea. You stop giving energy to what's keeping you down. You start asking better questions. What can I do today to grow? What thoughts are keeping me here? Who do I need to become to move forward? Your current situation may be tough. Maybe you're facing problems you didn't ask for. Maybe you're tired. Maybe life has worn you down. But your mind is still yours. That's the power you still have. You still get to decide what you focus on. You still get to control how you speak to yourself. And if you want out, that's where the escape begins, from the inside out. The first thing to do is stop telling yourself you're powerless. That's a lie. You have choices. You may not be able to change everything overnight, but you can change your attitude. You can choose what you think about when you wake up. You can choose whether you complain or whether you work. You can choose whether you repeat excuses or rewrite your story. When you start using your mind to look forward instead of backward, everything begins to shift. New energy shows up. You begin to feel things you haven't felt in a long time: hope, purpose, direction. Not because anything outside of you changed yet, but because you did. Because your mind finally started working for you instead of against you. That's the moment things start to move. Maybe not fast, maybe not loud, but movement begins. You start seeing chances where you only saw problems. You start seeing effort as meaningful, not as a waste. You stop looking for quick wins and start building a strong foundation. This is how people escape where they are, not by luck, not by waiting for someone to save them, but by shifting their thoughts and backing those thoughts with action. You also need to separate yourself from the noise. If you're always around people who complain, if your mind is flooded with negativity from social media or the news, if you keep feeding yourself fear, your thinking will be weak, your energy will be low, your belief in yourself will shrink. So protect your mind. Be selective about what you let in. Feed it things that make you stronger. Books, audio, people, silence. Give your mind time to think, time to create, time to reset. You can't create a better life with a mind full of noise. You need clarity. You need space. You need to know what matters to you. Not what's popular, Not what everyone else is doing, but what feels right for your life. And that only comes when you start thinking deeply, consistently, and deliberately. There will be days where it feels like nothing is changing, days where your mind wants to give up. But those are the days that matter most. Those are the days that build mental strength. Because when you keep choosing to use your mind, when you keep choosing focus, discipline, gratitude, and growth, you are building a new version of yourself. And eventually, that version will be strong enough to carry you to the life you once only imagined. You don't need anyone's permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to use the tool you already have, your own mind. That's your way out. That's your starting point. That's your foundation. Everything you want to change begins there. So decide today. No more recycling the same thoughts. No more repeating the same emotional patterns. No more telling yourself stories that hold you back. Start building a new pattern. Start feeding your mind truth. Start directing it toward growth, toward strength, toward action. Use your mind like a compass, not a cage. If you can do that consistently, patiently, honestly, you'll wake up one day and realize you're not where you used to be. Not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Because you didn't wait for life to change. You changed first. You used your mind to escape the old version of yourself. And that changed everything. Number 3, see your future and move toward it daily. You can't go anywhere meaningful if you don't know where you're headed. A lot of people feel lost, confused, and empty. Not because they're incapable, but because they're walking through life without a clear picture of where they want to end up. They wake up every day and go through the motions. They work, they scroll, they talk, they survive. But they're not moving toward anything specific. They're just reacting. They're responding to problems, bills, noise, and other people's priorities. That's not living. That's drifting. And drifting leads to frustration. You need to see your future before you can reach it. That means sitting down and deciding what your future looks like. Not what sounds nice. Not what sounds successful to others. What feels right for you. Not 5 years from now. Start with something real. What kind of future would make you feel fulfilled a few months from now? What would your daily life look like? What would your habits be? What kind of energy would you carry? What would you stop tolerating? Most people avoid that kind of thinking because it requires honesty. It forces you to admit that the way you're living now isn't what you really want. It forces you to take responsibility. But if you want change, that's where it starts. A clear vision. A future that feels meaningful. A direction that pulls you forward even on the days you feel tired. Once you've seen that future, once it's clear in your mind, you've got to move toward it every single day. Not once a week, not when you feel like it. Every day. That's the key most people miss. They imagine something better but stay stuck in old patterns. They wish for change while repeating behaviors that keep them exactly where they are. They never bridge the gap between vision and action. And that's why the vision fades. It doesn't feel real anymore. And they start to settle. You don't need to take massive steps every day. You just need to take deliberate ones. One small move in the direction of your future is more powerful than 100 hours of overthinking. Action creates clarity. You learn by doing. You grow by showing up. You become the person you want to be by acting like that person now, not later. You might not feel ready. That's normal. Most people never feel ready. But readiness isn't a feeling. It's a decision. You decide to trust the future you see in your mind more than the comfort of the present. You decide to show up for your future self. You decide to build a relationship with the person you want to become by doing the things that person would do today. It won't always be easy. You're going to face resistance, not just from the world, but from within. Your mind will try to talk you out of it. It will offer distraction. It will give you reasons to delay. It will remind you of your past. That's its way of keeping you safe. But you're not here to play it safe. You're here to grow. You're here to move. And that means you'll need discipline. Discipline is choosing what matters most over what's easy. It's waking up, and remembering what you're building. It's saying no to the things that don't match your future. It's staying focused on what's important, even when you feel tired, discouraged, or uncertain. And it's something you build, not something you're born with. You build it by doing the hard thing again and again, until it becomes normal. Each day, you're either getting closer to the future you see, or further away from it. There is no standing still. Even on rest days, your mind is either strengthening your belief in what's possible, or giving power to your doubts. That's why what you feed your mind matters. The books you read, the conversations you have, the thoughts you entertain, everything counts. Everything is either helping or hurting. The future you want is not going to drop in your lap. It's going to test you. It's going to ask, do you really want this? And your answer can't just be words. It has to be action. It has to be sacrifice. It has to be focus. That's the price. And if you're willing to pay it, you will change your life. Not because someone gave you permission, but because you finally gave it to yourself. It starts with one clear question. What does my future look like if I keep going the way I'm going? If that picture doesn't excite you, then it's time to choose a new one. Not just hope for it. Choose it. Decide that this is the life you're working toward. See it every morning. Feel it when you're making choices. Remind yourself that your actions today are shaping the life you'll live tomorrow. You don't have to tell everyone your plans. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to keep showing up for the life you believe in. Quiet work, focused steps, small wins. That's how real transformation happens. You look up one day and realize you've become the person you once only imagined. Not because of luck, not because of a miracle, but because you saw the future and moved toward it daily. That's what separates people who grow from people who stay the same. Not talent, not background, not connections, direction, consistency, and belief. When you wake up and remember what you're building, you live differently. You make choices with intention. You protect your time. You take care of your energy, and you let your future guide your behavior. The life you want will not wait for you to feel ready. It won't chase you. You have to chase it. You have to say, I'm done waiting. I'm done surviving. I'm done repeating, and then get to work. No one is coming to save you. That might sound harsh, but it's free, because it means everything you need to start is already within you. So see the future you want, not in vague terms. Make it real. Make it specific. Make it emotional. Know what it looks like. Know how it feels. Then move. Do one thing that matches that future. Then do it again tomorrow, and again after that. Before long, you won't just be seeing the future. You'll be living it, because you showed up. You worked through the resistance. You believed in what you saw, and you never stopped moving. Number 4, train your brain to focus on what you want. Your brain listens to what you focus on. It doesn't care if it's something you want or something you fear. It just takes in your attention and builds patterns around it. That's how your thoughts turn into emotions, and your emotions begin shaping your behavior. The problem is, most people spend their energy focusing on everything they don't want. They focus on problems. They focus on what went wrong. They focus on what's missing. And then they wonder why their life feels heavy, scattered, and frustrating. You have to understand that your brain is like a builder. It constructs your habits, your mindset, and your reactions based on what you keep feeding it. If you constantly give it fear, doubt, negativity, and distractions, it will become an expert at those things. That becomes your operating system. That becomes your daily emotional home. And that's why some people live the same year over and over again. They don't train their brain. They don't teach it where to go. They let it drift toward whatever is loudest, whatever is easiest, and whatever is most familiar. But you don't have to live like that. You can retrain your brain to focus on what actually matters. You can teach yourself how to stop reacting and start directing. It's not a quick process. It's not something that happens in a weekend, but it's possible. It's real. And it starts with awareness. You've got to catch yourself in the act of focusing on the wrong thing. When you wake up and the first thoughts in your head are about what you're afraid of or what you failed at, stop and ask yourself, is this helping me? That simple question is powerful. It breaks the cycle. It creates space for you to choose again. And the more often you interrupt that pattern, the more control you take back. This doesn't mean you ignore reality. It doesn't mean you pretend everything is fine when it's not. It means you decide what part of your reality you want to grow. Because what you focus on expands. If you give your attention to your potential, you'll start noticing possibilities. If you focus on your strengths, you'll start using them more. If you focus on your goals, you'll start creating actions that match them. That's how focus becomes fuel. Most people say they want success, peace, confidence, freedom, but they focus on failure, stress, insecurity, and fear. That doesn't work. You can't aim in one direction and expect to land in another. You have to match your thoughts with the outcome you say you want. That's what training your brain really means. It's not about wishful thinking. It's about alignment. It's about making your thoughts and your goals move in the same direction. Start by getting clear about what you want. Not what sounds good, not what impresses other people. What do you actually want to feel in your life? What kind of energy do you want to carry? What kind of habits do you want to live with? What kind of challenges are worth your effort? Once you know that, write it down. Review it often, and every day make sure your thoughts are working for that picture, not against it. That's where the training begins. Your brain will try to go back to old habits. It'll want to look at the problems, replay the past, scan for danger. That's normal. That's biology. But you're not here to live on autopilot. You're here to lead yourself. So when those thoughts show up, catch them and shift them. Don't argue with them. Don't panic. Just shift. Replace them with thoughts that serve your direction. Speak what you want to believe. Act like the future matters. Give your brain something useful to build on. It helps to control what comes into your space. If you spend your time watching chaos, your mind will mirror that. If you're surrounded by complaints, you'll start thinking in complaint. If your environment is filled with noise, your focus will get weaker. So create space for thinking. Create time for stillness. Choose your inputs carefully. Feed your brain with thoughts, content, and people that push you toward your next level. You're not going to feel motivated every day. That's not how it works. You're not supposed to wait for motivation. You're supposed to lead your mind with discipline. Discipline is when you choose to stay focused, even when you feel tired or distracted. It's when you show up for your future self by doing the hard things now. That's how your brain learns what matters. Not through emotion, through repetition. Every time you focus on what you want, even for 5 minutes, you are carving a path in your brain, a new mental trail, a better pattern. And the more you walk that trail, the stronger it gets. Soon it becomes natural. It becomes the first place your mind goes. That's when focus becomes part of who you are. Not just something you do, but something you live with. You'll notice your reactions changing. The same situations that used to overwhelm you won't affect you the same way. You'll feel stronger, quieter, clearer. That's what happens when your brain starts working for your goals instead of against them. You'll stop giving your energy to things that don't move you forward. You'll stop chasing distraction. You'll start protecting your focus like it's your most valuable resource. Because it is. There will be people who won't understand this change. They might say you've changed. You have. You've trained yourself to care about your direction. That's not selfish. That's responsible. You're the one who has to live with your choices, your habits, and your results. So it makes sense to think like the person who takes that seriously. It makes sense to spend your attention wisely. It makes sense to build a mind that lifts you instead of weighs you down. And when you slip, when your mind goes back to worry or comparison or doubt, don't shame yourself. Just return. Get back to the vision. Remember what matters. Pick one thought that brings you back to your path. That's the discipline. Not being perfect, but being committed over and over again. Your brain is always learning, always adapting, always growing. That's the gift. You're not stuck with the way things are. You have the ability to teach yourself new thoughts, new habits, new standards. You can build a mental life that matches the kind of physical life you're trying to create. That's the path. That's the power, and that's the process. So train your brain daily. Not once, not when it's convenient. Every single day. Focus on what you want. Think about what you're building. Direct your attention where it matters. That's not a one-time decision. It's a way of living. And the more you live that way, the more you start to see it working. Slowly at first, then faster. And before you know it, you're not fighting your mind anymore. You're leading it. You're using it. And it's taking you exactly where you want to go. Number 5. Build your goals in your head every morning. Every morning you wake up, you're given a choice. Start the day with clarity, or let it pull you in every direction. And the truth is, most people start their day already defeated. The moment they open their eyes, their mind goes to stress, to problems, to what they don't want to face. They reach for their phones. They look at what other people are doing. They check emails, notifications, and in those first few moments of the day, they hand over their focus to everything outside of themselves. No direction, no structure, no ownership. That's not how you build a life. That's how you lose it. If you want to get somewhere with your life, if you truly want to progress, you must train yourself to start your day with your own mind, your own thoughts, your own goals. You've got to build those goals in your head before the world starts shaping your attention. And you have to do it every single morning. Not once a week, not when you feel inspired. Every morning, without negotiation. This is not about repeating affirmations that don't feel real. It's about choosing your direction before the noise takes over. Your brain needs a target. It needs to know what matters today. If you don't give it something to focus on, it will find distractions. It will fall into old thought patterns. It will start reacting to the same triggers, the same people, the same routine. And suddenly your day doesn't feel like yours anymore. It belongs to everything and everyone else. So when you wake up, before you get lost in the rush, sit with yourself. Think clearly. Ask yourself, what do I want to move toward today? What goal is worth my energy today? What decisions would move me closer to that? These are not complicated questions. They are necessary ones. And if you skip them, your day will be full of tasks, but empty of purpose. You might not know how to reach your goal yet. That's okay. You don't need every answer. You just need direction. You need to see the outcome in your mind before you can act in alignment with it. That image, that internal focus, becomes your filter. It tells you what to say yes to. It tells you what to ignore. It strengthens your choice, because when you know where you're headed, your time becomes more valuable. Your attention becomes sharper. You stop drifting and start building. Your goals don't have to be huge to matter. You don't need to change the whole world by tomorrow, but you do need to change the way you start your day, because how you begin determines how you move, and how you move daily becomes your life. When you build your goals in your head each morning, you are preparing yourself to win. You are creating mental clarity. You are forming a connection between your thoughts and your action. You are reminding yourself why the work matters. And that's something most people miss. They do things because they're supposed to, not because they've attached meaning to them. That's why they burn out. That's why they quit. They don't feel connected to the result. But when you take just a few minutes in the morning to focus, to visualize, to lock in on what you want, your effort has direction. You stop feeling like you're just surviving the day. You begin to lead it, and that shift is powerful. The mind responds to structure. It performs better when it has a mission. When you wake up and train your brain to think about your goals, real goals, personal goals, goals that matter to you, you start tapping into your own internal drive. You don't need outside pressure. You don't need someone pushing you. You've already built your reason. This habit also changes how you deal with challenges. Life doesn't stop being hard just because you have goals. You'll still face stress, people, problems, but when you've anchored your mind in a goal at the beginning of the day, those things don't hit you the same way. You're grounded. You've already made your decision. And so when something shows up that doesn't support your direction, you know it's not worth your energy. That's why morning goal building is so powerful. It's not just mental, it's emotional. You're setting a tone. You're deciding how you want to feel. You're choosing your emotional focus before anything outside of you has a chance to pull it. And that's where strength comes from. Not from control, but from clarity. If you've never done this before, start small. Don't overthink it. Just sit quietly in the morning and think about one thing you want to accomplish, one change you want to make, one part of your life you want to improve. Get that picture clear in your head. Make it real. Then ask yourself, what's one step I can take today? That's it. Just one. Do that every morning and watch what happens. You'll begin to feel different, more focused, more in control. Your days will stop blending together. You'll stop feeling like life is just happening to you. You'll feel ownership again. You'll look back after a few weeks and realize that you're actually making progress. Not by accident, but because you made a conscious decision each day to build something. And if you ever feel stuck, go back to the basics. Don't chase motivation. Don't wait for the perfect conditions. Just return to the habit of building your goals in your mind first thing in the morning. That's where discipline grows. That's where the emotional connection is rebuilt. And that's where progress begins again. The people who live with clarity, with focus, with fire, they don't wait for life to give them direction. They create it every morning. They remind themselves of what matters. They visualize it. They think about the actions that match it. And then they go live that way. Not perfectly, not always smoothly, but consistently. That's the difference. Most people want a better life, but they don't train for it. They don't lead their thoughts. They don't set intentions, and so they drift. But the ones who win, they train their mind before the world trains it for them, and they do it again tomorrow. So no matter where you are in life right now, this is something you can start. It's free, it's simple, and it works. Build your goals in your head every morning. Let that image lead your behavior. Let it protect your energy. Let it fuel your discipline. Do that, and you won't just get more done. You'll start becoming someone you respect, someone with direction, someone with purpose, someone who shows up to life fully awake. Number 6. Wake up and imagine how far you can go. When you open your eyes in the morning, your first thoughts matter more than you think. They shape the direction of your entire day. If you wake up and your mind instantly returns to stress, worry, or all the things you haven't done yet, then you're starting the day already limited. You're carrying yesterday into today, and that weight keeps you from even noticing what's possible. But if you wake up and take a moment, just a few minutes, to imagine how far you can go, something changes. Not in your situation right away, but inside of you. That internal shift is where real growth begins. Most people don't realize how much power they lose by starting their day in reaction. They check their phones, scroll through noise, and immediately let the outside world dictate how they feel. That's not a setup for progress. That's a setup for stagnation. Your potential doesn't live in those first distractions. It lives in your ability to think clearly, to imagine something better, and to move toward it. That clarity doesn't just show up. You have to create it. And the best time to do that is when the day is brand new. There's a kind of energy available in the early moments of your day that disappears quickly if you don't use it. It's quiet, it's raw, it's honest. It's not yet shaped by the opinions or noise of anyone else. That's the perfect time to ask yourself, how far can I go if I stop doubting myself? Most people never ask that. They've already convinced themselves they can't go far. Not because it's true, but because they've never challenged the limits they placed on themselves years ago. You have to break that pattern. You have to learn to see yourself beyond what you've, and that requires imagination. Real imagination, not fantasy, not escape, but honest, personal possibility. You don't need to know exactly how everything will work out. You don't need to see the full map, but you do need to believe that something better is within reach. That belief isn't just a nice feeling. It's fuel. It gives you a reason to try, to show up, to stop quitting halfway through. If you look at the people who grow, who rise, who build a life they're proud of, you'll find something in common. They've trained themselves to imagine more. They've learned to wake up and picture a future that's worth working for. And they hold on to that image when things get hard. They don't give up just because it's difficult. They understand that distance is covered one step at a time. But you don't take those steps without a clear idea of where you're going. So tomorrow when you wake up, ask yourself, what would my life look like if I stopped playing small? Imagine what you could build if you gave consistent effort. Picture the strength you'd feel if you followed through for 90 days straight. Think about what kind of energy you'd carry if you no longer let fear speak louder than your goals. These thoughts are not fluff. They are tools. They help direct your behavior. They push you to make choices that match your future instead of your past. Imagination is not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing what you want your reality to become. If you only ever think about your current problems, you'll build a life full of problems. But if you take time each day to picture how far you can go, you'll start to build systems, habits, and a mindset that supports that vision. It won't happen overnight. Nothing real does. But you'll begin to move, and that movement is everything. Some mornings you'll feel heavy. Some mornings your doubts will be loud. That's part of the process. You're not supposed to feel excited all the time. What matters is that you return to the image. Remind yourself of what's possible. Remind yourself of how far you've already come. Think about what your life could look like if you stayed focused, if you stopped explaining away your effort, if you didn't keep starting over. And when you imagine how far you can go, don't base it on where you are now. Base it on where your character could take you. Base it on your capacity to grow. Most people judge their future based on current limitations. That's a mistake. You are not fixed. You are not stuck. You are in motion. You are becoming something new every day, based on how you think, how you choose, and how you act. That process starts again each morning. You don't need external permission to imagine a better life. You don't need approval to want more. You just need to stop waiting and start thinking differently. Ask yourself real questions. What would change if I stopped breaking promises to myself? How much progress could I make if I gave myself a real chance? What if I replaced my excuses with consistent action? These are not just thoughts. They are challenges. They are invitations to rise. The truth is, most people settle because they stopped imagining. They got caught in the trap of survival. They wake up, do the same things, go to sleep, and repeat. They stopped believing anything else was possible, and that belief becomes their ceiling. You can't outperform the thoughts you live with every day. So if you want more, you have to think higher. You have to see further. Not because it's guaranteed to work out exactly how you plan, but because not imagining at all guarantees you'll stay where you are. Every great change in life starts with a simple shift in perspective. A moment where you stop asking what's wrong and start asking what's possible. That moment can happen every single morning. You just have to claim it. Protect those first thoughts. Don't let them be controlled by fear or distraction. Use them. Aim them. Let them remind you of how far you still can go. Wake up and imagine being proud of how you live. Imagine being mentally clear, emotionally grounded, and physically strong. Imagine showing up every day without needing motivation, because you've built the discipline that carries you even when you're tired. Imagine having peace, because you're finally living in alignment with what matters most to you. That version of your life is not fantasy. It's not some distant dream. It's built in small moments, starting with the first moment of your day. That's when you decide who you're becoming. That's when you separate yourself from the noise. That's when you choose to think like the person you want to become. So when your alarm goes off, before you scroll, before you speak, take a deep breath. Picture how far you can go if you take responsibility for your growth. Feel what that future would feel like. Then carry that feeling into your choices. 1 hour at a time, one action at a time, day after day. Before long, you'll look back and realize the person you used to be couldn't even imagine where you are now. Not because you had it all figured out, but because you made a simple decision to start each day with vision, with focus, and with belief in how far you can go. Number 7, decide what you want and think about it. If you don't decide what you want, life will decide for you. And when that happens, you end up chasing things that don't matter. You find yourself busy but not fulfilled, active but not advancing, surrounded but still disconnected. The most powerful move you can make is to stop and ask yourself a direct question. What do I really want? Not what looks good, not what others expect. What do I truly want to experience in this life? Most people avoid that question because it's uncomfortable. It forces you to face how far you've drifted. It brings up the gap between where you are and where you wish you were. But avoiding the question doesn't close the gap. It keeps you stuck in it. The only way forward is clarity. And clarity starts with a decision. You have to decide what matters to you. Not in vague terms. Not I want to be happy or I want to be successful. You need to be able to describe it. What does it look like when you've got it? What does your life feel like when you're living it? What does your routine look like? Who are you becoming? What kind of person are you when you're living your own values and not trying to impress anybody? Once you decide, you give your mind a job. Your thoughts now have a direction. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think deciding is enough. It's not. You have to think about it constantly. You have to remind yourself every single day. Your brain is surrounded by noise, distraction, and pressure. If you don't actively focus on what you want, your mind will get pulled back into fear, self-doubt, and survival mode. Thinking about what you want isn't wishful thinking. It's mental alignment. When you think about what matters, your energy starts to match it. Your focus tightens. Your attention shifts. You stop entertaining things that don't belong in the life you want. That mental alignment is what keeps your behavior consistent. Because you're not just acting, you're building something. Thinking about what you want isn't a one-time event. It's a daily practice. It's the decision to sit with your vision before the world tries to distract you from. Most people live in reaction. They respond to messages, to problems, to other people's urgency. And then at the end of the day, they feel like they never got around to their own life. That's the cost of not thinking ahead. When you think about your goals, you begin to train your brain to find what helps. It becomes more aware. It starts to notice patterns, connections, and opportunities that support your vision. That's not some mystery, it's how focus works. You find more of what you consistently think about. If you think about problems, you find more stress. If you think about what you want, you start finding the pieces that help you move toward it. This practice also keeps you grounded when things get difficult, because there will be hard days. There will be moments when doubt shows up, when progress feels slow, when everything around you seems uncertain. But when you've made a clear decision about what you want, and when you keep thinking about it daily, you're less likely to give up. You're not doing things just to stay busy. You're doing them because they're part of the life you chose. And when you're that focused, you stop comparing yourself to others. You don't need to watch what everyone else is doing. You don't feel pressured to keep up. You've already decided what matters to you. You've already committed to your own race. That kind of clarity gives you peace. You're not running in circles anymore. You're building something you can be proud of. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. Every day, return to that decision. What do I want? And am I thinking like the kind of person who lives that life? That question keeps you honest. It reminds you that your thoughts have weight. They are not neutral. They're shaping the quality of your decisions, and your decisions are shaping the quality of your life. You don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need a real answer to that question. And if you don't know what you want yet, then your job is to spend time figuring it out. Don't wait for clarity to show up on its own. You've got to create it. Sit down, think deeply, ask yourself better questions. What kind of relationships do I want? What kind of work gives me energy? What do I want to contribute? What do I want to remember when I look back on my life? Write down what you find. Review it often. Update it as you grow. The more connected you are to your own desires, the less you will tolerate things that go against them. That's how people grow, by subtracting the unnecessary and multiplying the meaningful. Some people will challenge your clarity. They'll say you're being too focused. They'll try to pull you in other directions, but that's part of the process. Not everyone is supposed to understand your path. It's not theirs to walk. Your job is to keep thinking about what you want until it becomes real, until it's no longer a distant idea, but something you live. There's no secret formula, no magic blueprint, just a simple truth. Decide what you want and keep it on your mind. Keep your actions in alignment. Keep your energy attached to your vision. Keep your time guarded from distractions. Keep your life moving in the direction you actually want to go. Because if you don't, the world will gladly hand you a script. It'll tell you who to be. It'll fill your schedule. It'll drain your energy. And by the time you realize it, years will have passed, and you'll still be wondering why you feel off track. That's what happens when you forget to decide for yourself. So stop waiting for permission. Stop postponing clarity. Sit with yourself and answer the question honestly. What do I want? Then think about it every single day. Let that thought lead your actions. Let it shape your standard. Let it clear the path. Because that one decision, followed by focus, will do more for your life than 1,000 scattered efforts. That's how real change begins, and it begins now. Number 8. Picture success so clearly it makes you move. If you want to change your life, you first need to picture success so clearly that it becomes impossible to ignore. Not as a wish, not as a random thought, but as something you can almost touch. Something you feel in your chest when you think about it. Something so real in your imagination that it starts pushing you into motion before your excuses even wake up. That's the power of clarity. It's not about motivation. It's not about hype. It's about focus that burns through hesitation. Most people never take the time to define what success looks like for them. They chase things that sound good, not things that feel right. They borrow goals from others. They take advice from people who aren't even living the way they want to live. And because they don't have a picture in their own mind, they live in confusion. They keep starting over. They stay busy, but never really move. They don't feel fulfilled, and they don't know why. It's because there's no vision strong enough to pull them forward. You need something stronger than discipline. You need something that stirs your spirit every time you think about it. That comes from a vision that is yours. Not someone else's version of success. Not some random trend. Not what looks good on paper. Yours. The kind of life that matches your values, your needs, your character. That's where real movement starts. When you can see it so clearly in your head that doing nothing becomes unbearable. This isn't about fantasy. This is about building emotional energy. When your brain locks onto something that matters, your body follows. You begin making different choices. You stop wasting time. You become more protective of your attention. You treat your time like it matters. And that's because you're no longer moving blindly. You're being pulled by a picture that makes sense to you, a future that actually means something. You have to stop waiting to feel ready and start feeding your mind the right image. Picture it when you wake up. Picture it before you go to sleep. Walk through it in your imagination until it feels normal. Let yourself believe that it's possible. That belief doesn't come from others telling you. It comes from you making time every single day to sit with the image of your best outcome. If it doesn't make you move, it's not clear enough yet. If you can ignore it for a week without feeling off, it's not connected enough yet. You've got to go deeper. You have to attach meaning to it. Ask yourself why it matters. What changes if you become that version of you? What opens up? Who gets impacted? What kind of life gets built around that level of focus? When you have that image, things shift. Suddenly you're no longer trying to break bad habits. You're just too focused on the vision to be distracted. You're not forcing discipline. You're acting in alignment. The temptations that used to pull you off course now feel weaker. That's not because the world changed. It's because your internal picture became louder than your external noise. You don't need to prove your vision to anyone. You don't need applause. You just need to see it every day until it becomes part of you, and then move. Don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't ask for permission. Just move. Take the first step that matches the image. And once that step is taken, take the next. Stack those moves. Make them real. Because your future is shaped by repetition, not wishes. Success is not reserved for the few. It's built by the focused. The ones who stop overthinking. The ones who stop playing small. The ones who commit to a vision and live in a way that honors it. You don't need to be the smart. You don't need to have the best resources. You just need to be clear. Clear about where you're going. Clear about what you're no longer entertaining. Clear about the life you're done repeating. There's something powerful about waking up with a picture in your mind that guides your behavior. You eat differently. You think faster. You speak with purpose. You walk into your day with energy. Because there's something worth chasing, not out of desperation, but out of belief. You believe that the life you imagine can become real. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you made it clear enough to follow. If you're stuck, it's not because you're lazy. It's because the image in your mind isn't sharp enough yet. Go back and refine it. Get specific. What does a successful day look like? What does your environment feel like? What kind of work are you doing? What are your standards? What are you no longer tolerating? Don't skip these details. This is your internal blueprint, your map. You can't build a strong life with a blurry design. The world will test your focus. You'll get distracted. You'll question yourself. But if the image is strong enough, you'll return to it. You'll stay grounded. You'll remember why you started. That's why this work matters. That's why you have to picture success so clearly. It makes you move, not just once but every day, because clarity fades when it's not used. And when clarity fades, so does action. Keep the image alive, refresh it often, build your days around it, make your choices reflect it. Speak like the person in that picture. Walk like they would walk. Handle setbacks the way they would. This is not pretending. This is training. Training your mind to stop reacting and start leading. Training your thoughts to stay aligned with your future instead of your past. You don't need a million strategies. You don't need perfect timing. You need a picture of success that makes doing nothing feel unacceptable. You need a reason strong enough to carry you through excuses. And you need to honor that vision with daily effort. The results will come. They always follow the person who refuses to stop moving. Not because it's easy, but because it's worth it. That's your job now. Not to wait, not to wish, but to think clearly and move boldly. See it, feel it, build it, every single day, until it becomes so real, you forget it started in your head. Number 9. Use imagination to push past your daily limits. You live inside the limits you've accepted, the boundaries of your effort, the ceiling of your habits, the range of your decisions. All all of them are shaped by what your mind has decided is possible. Not always consciously, but day after day, without question, without challenge. And that's where the real trap is. You wake up and repeat what you did yesterday, not because it's working, but because it's familiar. If you want to break that pattern, you need something stronger than motivation. You need imagination, not as a fantasy, but as a tool. A tool to challenge your current limits and push you past what you've come to believe is all you can do. You don't hit a wall because you've reached your maximum. You hit it because you've stopped thinking past it. The moment you say, "This is just how I am," you've locked yourself inside a version of you that's outdated. You're not here to live under the same ceiling forever. You're here to grow. You're here to stretch your potential. But potential doesn't expand by itself. It needs direction. It needs a mental image, stronger than your excuses. Imagination is not something you outgrow. It's something you need more as you get older. Because as life piles on responsibility, routines, and pressure, you slowly forget what it feels like to think beyond survival. You stop creating ideas that excite you. You stop picturing a better outcome. And you get stuck in the loop of doing just enough to get by. That's not because you've failed. It's because you've stopped using your mind as a guide. Every day you face internal resistance that tells you to stop early, to skip the hard things, to stay where it's safe. And every time you give in, that resistance gets stronger. But the way to break it is not to push harder with force. It's to pull stronger with vision. You have to see something on the other side of your current effort that's worth reaching. You have to imagine a version of you that handles discomfort better. A version that doesn't quit when it gets boring or slow or complicated. That image in your head, if you keep it sharp enough, starts to fight back against your limits. It reminds you that there's more in you. It speaks louder than the voice telling you to coast. But you have to train yourself to return to it. Not once, not sometimes, every day. Especially on the days when you feel like going through the motions. That's when imagination matters most. When your body wants to stop, your mind can carry you forward if it knows what it's working toward. If you can imagine yourself finishing, improving, growing, showing up fully, then your mind will create energy you didn't think you had. And that energy becomes action. Not perfect action, but forward movement. That's the edge you need. Not superhuman strength, just the discipline to use your thoughts to shape your effort. Most people don't hit their potential because they never stop to define what's beyond their current limits. They just accept the discomfort and pull back. But what if in that moment of fatigue, you asked a different question? What if instead of "Can I do this?" you asked, "What would it look like if I kept going?" That question alone creates space for a new level. It shifts your thinking from fear to possibility. And that's the job of imagination. It's not supposed to just make you feel good. It's supposed to stretch your thinking. It's supposed to give your brain a target bigger than what you've already achieved. It's supposed to take the edge off your excuses by giving you a reason that feels more important than staying the same. You don't need to know every step. You just need to believe that the next level exists and that you can touch it if you're willing to reach. This kind of mindset takes training. You're not going to flip a switch and suddenly become someone who always thinks big and acts boldly. But you can start small. You can start by noticing where you stop early, where you settle, where you fall into routine that doesn't match your goals. And then in those moments, use your imagination. See yourself doing just a little more, handling it with composure, finishing stronger than you expected. And then do it, just once, then again, then again. Soon that pattern becomes part of how you operate. You become someone who doesn't accept the first limit. You become someone who uses their mind to challenge their comfort. That's not about being perfect. It's about not being passive, about refusing to let the day decide your limits for you. You decide, and imagination gives you the blueprint. You also have to stop surrounding yourself with people who never question their own ceiling. If everyone around you is comfortable being average, it's easy to fall asleep to your own goals. But when you start imagining a higher standard, and when you act on it, you start changing the atmosphere you live in. You become the one who raises the level. You don't have to announce it. You don't have to explain it. Just live it. People will feel it. There's something powerful about a person who doesn't need external permission to grow, who doesn't wait for things to be easy before they stretch. That kind of person is dangerous to limitation because they're not asking if they're ready. They're asking what else they're capable of. That question if asked consistently, starts to build momentum. And momentum is how you break through the places where you used to stop. Your body may feel like giving up. Your surroundings may be full of distractions. But if your mind is alive with clear vision, you'll keep going, not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. That version of you that lives beyond your current habits, that version is waiting. But you have to be willing to think big, not once, not on special days. Every single time you face resistance, respond with imagination. What would my life look like if I didn't stop here? What would this moment feel like if I knew I could push past it? What kind of energy would I have if I trained myself to go further? These questions open doors. They unlock effort that's been hiding behind doubt. They expose the mental habits that keep you small, and they replace them with something stronger. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. Every day you're shaping yourself. The only question is whether you're doing it on purpose. Use imagination to lead your effort. See beyond your current struggle. Picture a new level of strength. Then act like it's possible. Because it is. The moment you believe it is, your actions start to match. And that's when limits start breaking. One day, one decision, one mental image at a time. Number 10. Think strong thoughts and take action on them. The direction of your life is shaped by the thoughts you allow and the actions you follow through on. Every result you have right now started as a thought. Some of them were weak, based in fear, self-doubt, or hesitation. And some of them were strong thoughts rooted in courage, purpose, and truth. But here's the part most people miss. A strong thought is only powerful if you act on it. If it just sits in your mind, it does nothing. It becomes a wasted idea. But when you move on it, when you take it seriously and turn it into behavior, that's when it starts to shape your life in real ways. You don't need 1,000 strategies to succeed. You need stronger thoughts. Thoughts that challenge the way you've been thinking for years. Thoughts that make you question the standards you've settled for. Thoughts that cut through distractions and remind you what you're capable of. But those thoughts won't last unless you treat them with urgency. They need to become action quickly. That's the gap most people fall into. They get an idea, a spark, something real that could move their life forward. But they hesitate, they wait, they second guess, and then the moment passes. Strong thinking is not loud. It's not emotional hype. It's clear, it's honest, it's focused. And when you practice it, you start catching your weaker patterns. You hear your excuses, but you don't obey them. You see your distractions, but you don't give them power. That shift happens only when your thoughts have depth, when they're built on discipline, not just feeling. Start asking yourself, are my daily thoughts building the life I want, or are they keeping me comfortable where I am? Weak thoughts often sound nice, but they cost you growth. They tell you it's okay to put it off. They say you can start later. They make quitting sound logical. And the longer you let those thoughts lead, the more you drift. You lose time, you lose focus, you lose belief in your own ability to follow through. You need to start thinking in a way that fuels movement, not perfection, not fantasy. Movement. Thoughts like I can handle discomfort. I don't need to feel ready to take action. I've wasted enough time. I'm starting now. These are not just motivational phrases. These are decisions. And when you think this way, your body follows. Your habits begin to reflect what your mind is focused on. That alignment creates power. You stop feeling scattered. You stop questioning yourself every step of the way. You begin to trust your own judgment. But you only get there by training. Not once, not when you're inspired, but every day. You have to build the habit of thinking strong thoughts on purpose. That means checking in with yourself. That means catching lazy thoughts before they become behavior. That means being honest enough to say, this thought is weakening me, and replacing it with one that lifts you. This is the mental discipline most people skip. And once you have the thought, move. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't sit there overanalyzing. Just act. Even if it's small, even if it's messy, even if it's uncomfortable. Action creates clarity. It builds confidence. It shows your brain that you're not just someone who thinks, you're someone who follows through. That identity shift is where self-respect grows. You stop needing outside validation. Because you're proud of how you show up. Taking action on strong thoughts also builds momentum. One decision leads to another. You start stacking progress. You look up and realize your life is changing. Not because someone saved you, not because everything got easier, but because you finally took yourself seriously. That kind of change sticks. It doesn't fade when motivation drops. It becomes part of your foundation. Most people want change, but they don't want to think differently. They don't want to challenge their mental habits. They want new results without building new patterns. That's not how it works. If your thinking stays weak, your results will stay small. If you want strength in your life, it has to start in your mind. Think about the thoughts that built your current reality. Were they clear? Were they focused? Were they backed by real action? If not, now's the time to start. Not tomorrow, not next month, right now. You don't need more time. You need more clarity and more courage. And you get those things by asking better questions, being more honest with yourself, and deciding what matters. Your environment might not be ideal. Your past might be full of setbacks, but your thinking is still yours. That's your control center. And you have the power to fill it with thoughts that lift you, thoughts that remind you of your strength, thoughts that move you forward even when your situation isn't perfect. You also need to stop feeding your mind with noise. If you spend your time absorbing negativity, comparison, and distractions, your thinking will stay weak. Protect your inputs. Be intentional about what you read, what you listen to, who you surround yourself with. Your mind is always adapting to what you feed it. Make sure it's growing in the right direction. When you start thinking strong thoughts consistently, you'll notice your energy change. You'll wake up with more focus. You'll stop second-guessing simple decisions. You'll say no to things that don't match your value. That's because your thoughts are no longer random. They're rooted in who you want to be. And once you get used to thinking that way, you won't tolerate anything less. This isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about respecting your life enough to lead it with strength. Weak thinking is comfortable, but it's dangerous. It keeps you stuck. It tells you you're doing enough when you're not. It gives you just enough progress to keep you from quitting, but never enough to make a real difference. Strong thinking says, I'm not done. I can go further. I will do what's required. That kind of mindset builds change that lasts. So now the challenge is simple. Think stronger thoughts and take action on them. Don't just say what you want. Live in a way that proves it. Don't just hope things improve. Create improvement with your choice. And don't just plan. Move. Build the habit of mental discipline. Make your thinking a source of energy, not a place of doubt. That's how you create a life that feels aligned, focused, and truly your own. Every time you think a strong thought and take action on it, you move one step closer to the person you were meant to become. And if you do that long enough, one day you'll wake up and realize you no longer have to try to be strong, because strength is now part of who you are. If there's one thing you take away from this, let it be this: imagination is everything. If you don't take control of what you imagine, life will keep handing you more of what you already have. But if you start using your mind with purpose, if you start picturing a future that actually excites you, your life begins to change. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stop living without direction. Start small. See the life you want. Think about it every day. Let that picture push you to take real action. Because the people who grow the most aren't the ones who wait. They're the ones who imagine more and move anyway. If this message hit you deep, don't just close this video and forget. Come back to it, save it, share it, and most of all, start living like imagination is everything. Because it is, and it always will be.